Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I thought we could go ahead and do a swatch party of all of my eyeshadow palettes from Fantasy Cosmetica. They are a super cool, independently owned, small makeup brand, and all of their eyeshadow palettes have beautiful, vibrant color stories. I did recently become affiliated with them, so you can now use my code AMYLOVES to save a little bit of money off of their website, but I thought that it might be helpful just to see all of their palettes in one place, see them all swatched out. Without any further ado, let's jump on into the swatches. So let's start with the Barred eyeshadow palette because this is the one that I'm wearing on my eyes today, and I feel like this is actually such a beautiful fall color story between the yellow, the orange, the green, and this beautiful like burgundy plum shade. The first shade we have here is called Performance, and it's a light yellowy orange matte. I guess I could have told you about the formula before we started, but the mattes in all of these palettes are very soft, very creamy, and the metallics are super silky, very intense. I mean, you can see on my eyes, they are just so beautiful. So we have the shade Charismatic, which is what I have on my inner corner today, and this is kind of like a pale golden peachy iridescent duochrome. We have Enrapture, which is a pretty bright orange matte. Next we have the shade Lure, which is this beautiful turquoise shifting shadow with a royal blue base. It's just so stunning. We've got Legend, which is a purple blue sparkly metallic. Again, kind of like a deep purple base and a blue shift to it. And then we've got Mythic, which you guys know, like I can be kind of picky about my golds, but this might be one of the prettiest golds I've ever seen. It's just so intense, so vibrant. I feel like it has like an antique gold kind of feel to it. Like, look at that gold. Stunning. Next we have the shade Inspiration, which is a kind of mossy green matte. Again, super, super soft to the touch. We've got Wanderer, which is a duochrome, kind of orangey golden base with a burgundy flip to it, which I have on the outer part of my eye here. And then we have the shade Stories, which I love a matte like this. This one has a slightly more dry texture. It's not that I would describe it as a dry shadow, but in comparison with the other mattes, it does feel drier, but it's just the prettiest burgundy. So there is the entire Barred palette swatched out. I think it is so, so cute. I realized I wasn't doing these in any particular order, but let's go ahead and do my favorite palette from Fantasy Cosmetica next. So this is the Druid Palette, and it's actually the first one that they came out with. But this color story is everything. It's just so pretty, so grungy. I feel like I fell in love with this matte first and foremost. It is just the most gorgeous, grungy, pukey, yellowy, olivey shade, just stunning. And like the shimmers in here are beautiful. If you're wondering, this is definitely my #1 recommendation if you are into these tones. I know everyone's different, but this just makes my heart go a little faster. So the first shade in here is called Root, which is a deep brown matte. We've got Balance, which is a duochrome, like blue, purple, sparkly shade, super, super pretty. Next we have Forest, which is a deep green. This one is a little bit drier than the other mattes, but has so much depth to it. Look how pretty that is. I know my swatches are a little ugly right now, but yeah. Hopefully you guys can see that shift. It's so pretty. Next we have the shade Bare Form, which is kind of like a soft, bronzy, metallic shadow. We've got Serenity, which is one of the standouts here. It's like this beautiful blue, green, just super vibrant metallic. And then of course we have Sage, the matte that just does everything it needs to do. Look at that. Lastly, we've got a little bit more plummy tone. So we have the shade Transformation, which I would say is a multi-chrome. It's got this like deep, reddy, purpley base with this flip of blue and brown, and it's just super pretty. We've got Regrowth, which is definitely a different formula. I feel like majority of Fantasy Cosmetica's shimmers are that really intense metallic formula, but in this one, Regrowth is more of like a satin with like this pinky base and like a little bit of like a taupe shift running through it. Not my personal favorite shade. And then we have the shade Old Growth, which is a like more plummy brown. Goodness, so pretty. So there is the entirety of the Druid Palette swatched out. Okay, next let's do the Sorcerer Palette, because this is all of the cool toned, colorful vibes. It's so pretty. Here is what she looks like. I mean, I love anything that combines pink, purple, and blue. So the first shade in the Sorcerer Palette is Firestorm, which is a really beautiful pink, orange, metallic shadow. And then we've got Innate, which is a bubblegum pink matte. We've got Wild Magic, which is a soft blue. I feel like this one swatches a little bit lighter than it looks in the palette. I feel like you can see that. Like originally it looks very bright, but swatched out it just looks a little bit more like a pastel. Next we have the Matte Unleashed, which is pretty much just like a hot Barbie pink, super, super bright. We've got Arcane, which is a pink, blue, purple, soft metallic, just so shifty. The texture is stunning. And then we've got Polymorph, which is definitely a little bit more of like one of those shadows that feels like putty, like you can kind of press into it. But this one is a green base with a purpley blue periwinkle shift going on. Look how pretty. Next we have the shade Chaos, which is a darker satin. It's like a deep purple with like a little bit of a blue shift, but they're both very deep shades, so it's pretty subtle. And then we have the shade Empower, which is a really pretty purple. And then we have Illusion, which is a turquoise purple shifting shadow. So there is the entire Sorcerer palette swatched out. Okay, lastly, let's do the Fighter palette, which is actually Fantasy Cosmetica's newest launch. This is their most neutral palette yet, but it's still an interesting neutral palette in my opinion, because you've got some really pretty gray and silver. You've got like this pop of like mustardy yellow. You've got some rusty metallics. It's definitely got neutrals, but it's not your average neutral palette. So starting off, we have the matte gray right here, which is called Cavalier. I feel like it has like a slight kind of like sagey green undertone to it. It's not pulling blue. And then we have the shade Glory, really stunning iridescent multi-chrome. You've got purple, blue, and then like this like peachy base. It's just super, super pretty. And then we have Valor, which like I said, is a mustardy, really stunning matte. Next, we have the shade Blade, which is a very intense silver. We've got Fervor, which is like a rusty red metallic shade. Super, super pretty. And then we've got Victory, which is an orangey rusty shade, but it's got the most stunning pink sparkles in it. It's really, really metallic. Like, look at that. So pretty. Lastly, we have Warrior, which is a little bit of a deeper gray matte. We've got Might, which is a soft, like deep purple with golden flecks throughout it. It's a very, very interesting, unique shade. And then we've got Marshall, which is a neutral brown matte. I don't know if you guys can see like all the sparkles happening in this shade. It's so pretty. My cats are going crazy right now because there's a fly buzzing around the room and they're trying to hunt it down. But yeah, that is the Warrior palette. I think it's super, super stunning, and it's fun to have this combination of like really warm and really cool tones. It can make for very, very interesting looks, and maybe something that you wouldn't reach for if they weren't necessarily put right together like they are in this palette. So that is all of the eyeshadow palettes from Fantasy Cosmetica. I really hope that this video was helpful for you. If you have tried them, I would love to know what you think, if you're enjoying their palettes, or you can let me know which one is your favorite. If you haven't tried them, which color story is calling to you. I would love to have a conversation in the comment section below, but that's gonna be all for today. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.